Hi, I'm Sergeant Will Ryber with the Aberdeen Police Department. Welcome back to the Community Corner. It's been a little while since we've had one. We had a little technical difficulty tonight, so it delayed the starting of our program. But I'm glad you're joining us, and we've got some interesting information to talk about some community happenings that are going to be going on this month, highlighting our holiday season. So get out a piece of pen or paper and let's write some of this information down. Or you know what, you don't even need to do that because we have an awesome Facebook page you can simply go to, reference it, and you can find all the items that I'm going to be talking about today. And you can also go to our webpage and find out that same information. So please make sure there's a lot of interactive things that are going on right now that you can connect to us and we can get together and enjoy some fellowship. So tonight we want to talk about first the holiday toy and food drive that's going on. It's being sponsored by the Grove Presbyterian Church Deacons Cupboard and the United States Marine Corps Toys for Tots. We're basically, on their behalf, we're collecting non-perishable food items, and we're collecting new toys like these beautiful bikes that were donated anonymously by someone in our community that took the time to come by our station, drop these bikes off, and are giving a special treat under a Christmas tree for a very needy person. You may be asking yourself right now, how do I donate? How do I become a part of this? It's so easy. Simply come into the police department. You can see our dispatch at the window. We have collection boxes that are in the waiting area. You can drop off your new toys there, and you can also donate your food, your non-perishable, though I'm emphasizing non-perishable food item. You drop it off there, and we are going to get those items to the two charities that I talked about earlier. It's going to be a great cause, and that is going on until December 14th. So if you're going to make a donation, we've got 16 days approximately left. Please make that donation. And if you have a question concerning that, you can simply call the police department at 410-272-2121 and ask to speak with Miss Liberto, who works very diligently to make sure that this happens. Coming up this Saturday, something that's very exciting, and it's kind of the centerpiece of the holiday season for us here in Aberdeen. We have the Christmas Street Parade, and that's going to start at 3 p.m. this Saturday. Very excited to talk about that. This year we did something different as a department. Obviously the Aberdeen Police Department is well represented in the parade. Not only do we provide perimeter security and traffic control and management, we also have our Chief Henry Trabert and our Deputy Chief Kirk Bain. They will be riding in two of our custom vehicles. One custom in particular is our patrol car, which many of you have seen out and about at some of the different displays that we put on throughout the city, and also our patrol Camaro. So this year we actually did a drawing for those that were interested. We had kids between the ages of 8 and 13. They simply submitted their names in, and their names were drawn randomly. We had two winners. Both were 11 years of age, both of them Aberdeen residents. And I'd like to congratulate those winners. Brooklyn and Sky was in conversation with their parents. They're very excited. And Brooklyn has already communicated to us that he was the first one selected. He will be driving in the Camaro, so he's very excited about that. Everyone knows the Aberdeen Police Department, we have partnerships with the Maryland Special Olympics. It's something that we champion. It's a cause. We sell t-shirts here. You guys in the community have been great about supporting those sales, those t-shirt sales. And I want to bring to your attention an event that's coming up on December 8th. And keeping in the Christmas holiday festive spirit, Green Turtle does a great job of representing charitable causes, those that are in troubled times or in need. This December 8th, they will be supporting the Maryland Special Olympics by donating 20% of each sale will go directly to Maryland Special Olympics, the Harford County chapter, at the Green Turtle in Bel Air. This is not going on in Aberdeen, it's going on at the Bel Air location. But we do partnership with them, and we're excited to announce that Bel Air location will be collecting those donations. And last but not least on our holiday items will be the Christmas on Patrol. And for many of you out there, this is really exciting. Holiday on Patrol, Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be on the sled coming through your community. The travel routes right now are to be determined, so just stand by, but I want to let you know those are coming to your community, and that's going to start at 9 a.m. on Saturday, December 17th. So I've personally seen Mr. and Mrs. Claus. They couldn't be more excited to do this, so get ready. But now I want to talk about something on a more serious note. This is something that we're trying to bring awareness to, and trying to locate two citizens of our community. One just happened more recently, reported to us within the last week. Miss Vanessa Lipsy, a 59-year-old female, last reportedly seen around November 16th by a neighbor. She's gone missing. There's a photograph of Miss Lipsy. If you could take a look at that. Miss Lipsy's 5'7" tall. She weighs 190 pounds. At the time that she was last seen, the person was unable to recall her exact clothing, so it's unknown what she was wearing at the time of her disappearance. At this time, we are asking for the community's help in locating. So if you know anything about the whereabouts of Miss Lipsy, friend, neighbor, have any information you could provide, would be very useful to us. And I'm going to visit a missing person case that's going on over 2 years in the active file. On August 26, 2014, Mark Dickinson was last seen around his address on Edmond Street. Mr. Dickinson, his disappearance was investigated thoroughly to include canine tracks through wooded areas, community canvasses throughout our neighborhoods. The family solicited and passed out flyers for information regarding Mr. Dickinson's whereabouts, and to this date we've had no information leading to his whereabouts. So if anybody has any idea where either Miss Lipsy or Mr. Dickinson is, please contact the Aberdeen Police Department and provide that information to us. It means a lot to us, but more importantly, it means so much for the families and the concerned people that are out there right now wondering about their loved ones. So at this time, I'd like to invite an officer that's new to the department, approximately about a year or so, Officer Courtney Upham. Officer Upham is a law enforcement patrol officer with our department. Officer Upham, thank you for joining us. So I see by the stripe on your shirt sleeve that you've recently been promoted to Officer First Class.
Yes, sir.
How are you feeling about that?
Feeling pretty good.
Excellent. Now, how long? Officer Upham is a lateral. She came to us from another police department. What department did you come from?
I came from Baltimore City.
And how long did you work in Baltimore City?
I worked in Baltimore for about 3.5 years.
So 3.5 years. And where did you grow up in Baltimore, or did you live elsewhere?
No, I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, and so your transition down to Baltimore, obviously, was it a little different than where you grew up back home, or?
Oh, definitely, yes.
So how are you finding the transition from Baltimore City to now coming over and policing in Aberdeen City?
It's definitely a transition. It was something to get used to at first. The slower pace of calls and just the different group of people that you're dealing with. But I'm enjoying it a lot.
How do you find interacting with the community? Is there any one particular area in law enforcement that you enjoy spending your time?
I mean, I enjoy all of it. I enjoy interacting with the community. I enjoy, the investigative part of police work. Just, trying to make a difference.
Excellent. Now, something that's pretty exciting, as many of you know, the Aberdeen Police Department is one cog in the Harford County Municipal SWAT Team, which is comprised of members from the Havre de Grace Police Department, as well as Bel Air Police Department, and the City of Aberdeen. They're comprised together as a collective group, and you guys operate a very high-speed SWAT team that provides coverage to all of our municipalities that participate. Officer Upham is the first female SWAT operator in the history, and I'm backdating to when the Aberdeen Police Department operated as a sole SWAT unit, and now as the collective group. In neither instance there was ever a female that was a member of the SWAT team. So I'd like to congratulate you personally for your service, number one, as a police officer, but number two, the dedication that it takes to become a SWAT operator. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of motivated you to want to go into the SWAT unit?
Well, the team leader and the assistant team leader, they were looking for motivated young officers, and we've recently got quite a few of them. So they just approached all of us and saw if any of us had any interest, and just went from there.
Now let me ask you, because I know many of you out there in viewerland are wondering, how does one become a member of a SWAT team? And myself personally, I served on the Aberdeen SWAT team for approximately 7 years, and I understand the dedication, the commitment, the things that go into becoming a successful SWAT operator. But can you talk about a little of the preparation? Like, let's start physically. How are you able to, and I know our obstacle course and some of the other physical requirements that are required for the position are pretty rigorous. What were you able to do to prepare yourself for that?
I go to CrossFit Hartford in Joppa, so that prepared me pretty well for the obstacle course.
Did you have any problems completing it? You can brag a little bit, or did you cruise right through it?
No, I mean if you prepare, it's pretty easy.
I tell you what, that is impressive. So, have you been out on operations at this point, or?
Yeah, we've done a couple.
And how are you finding the transition from becoming a newly minted SWAT operator? I know you just recently graduated from a SWAT school in New Jersey. How are you finding the translation from the training aspects into going operational, working in the team environment?
It's good. It's definitely different. It's not so much sped up, but it's definitely quicker. But the other team members and operators have been very helpful in the transition.
Excellent. So, just to give a little background, Officer Upham, currently you're working on the 6 p to 6 a.m. shift.
Yes.
But what shift do you normally work on?
Normally I work 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
So if anybody has a non-perishable donation or a toy, when you're out on patrol, they can see Officer Upham and meet our newly minted Officer First Class out in person. How are you finding, and obviously you came from a full-service background, you worked in a diverse community, this is a very diverse community. How are you finding the neighborhoods, just being able to kind of get out there and meet and greet people? How is that working out for you?
I feel like in Aberdeen there is a lot more community policing, a lot more options for community policing with the Christmas street, like you said. Usually they do Shop with a Cop, participated in that last year. I know with with Halloween they did like Trick or Trunk. I think that's what it's called over the fire department. So because it's a smaller community and it's a smaller department, we have more opportunities to interact with the community more, which is good.
And that's excellent, and that's really what we're trying to promote. We just recently had a conversation about our Amtrak station and about the vigilance that officers are providing over there to make to defeat a perception and fear of being around the Amtrak. And that's the kind of proactive policing that officers like Officer Upham are bringing into Aberdeen and are displaying those kind of traits and using that kind of police technique on a daily basis. I'd like to thank you, Officer Upham, not only because it does take some courage to step into the Facebook Live community. Thank you for coming out. Do you have anything you'd like to say regarding your experiences or anything else you'd like to add?
No, just, if you call, we'll be there.
I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much, Officer Upham.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I have a question from Lindsay Gilmore, and she's asking, what are we taking donations for? So the donations, I'm going to reiterate, right now we are accepting non-perishable food items. Those are going to benefit Grove Presbyterian Church. And we're also accepting donations of new toys. So if you have new toys, bring them in. It's going to make such a difference in a young person's life that hasn't been able to experience the kind of joys in Christmas that many of us have been able to enjoy. So let's get together as we can as a community, and it's something our department, our chief stands behind. Trickle down from the top down to the bottom. We are all making a commitment to donate to this worthwhile cause. When the trucks pull up here, they're overwhelmed, elated with joy to see the kind of charitable sense that not only you, the citizens, have, but members of the department, and it means a lot this holiday season. I've got another question from Stephen Dennis. Is there any equipment that the department is lacking that a fundraiser could be held to closet funds for? At this point, we are in transition of looking at kind of the bigger budget items and things like that. That's something, if it gets to that point, we will definitely make that known and communicate. We're well funded by our administration. They take good care of us here at the police department. I thank you for that question. I want to reiterate one more time, though, the two missing persons that we have. One has been missing since approximately November 16th. That's Miss Vanessa Lipsey. I'm going to show you that picture again. Many of you will recognize her if you're out and about in Aberdeen. So if you know where she's at, just give the Aberdeen Police Department a quick call. And then Mark Dickinson, who's been missing since August 26th of 2014. We're definitely trying to identify the whereabouts of Mr. Dickinson and bring some bring some comfort to his loved ones and family. Katie Dills asks, so can we drop them off at the station? Absolutely, but remember there's a window on this. We're going to December 14th. So if you guys could get together and get those items to us at the station, simply walk in. There's boxes set up. Very accessible, very easy. If you have any questions, there's a dispatcher, friendly dispatchers at the windows that are more than welcome to answer any of your questions. We also have our patrol officers who are highly visible. You'll see them around town. You see a guy or a gal in a uniform and you have a question about making a donation, they will, obviously, if they're in the middle of handling a call or something like that, let them finish the duties that they're undertaking. But once they're finished that, simply engage them in that conversation, and if you have those items, you can simply bring those and drop them off. These donations have been well represented over the past 5-6 years, and we expect the same kind of donations will continue to flow in. So at this point, I'm checking to see if there's any more questions. Well, that looks like that's going to be it for tonight. So I'd like to thank everybody for popping in, taking a few minutes out of your time to join us at the Community Corner. I'd like to thank Officer Courtney Upham for coming out, stopping by, and sharing her law enforcement experience with us. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to watch. Well, wait a minute. All right, we're gonna hang tight a second. I've got another announcement to make. I believe our city manager is now in the studio, so I'll just give you a little background about the city manager. It's a newly minted city manager, Mr. Randy Robertson. Mr. Robertson is a retired Army officer. He has over 30 years military experience. He came to us directly from Cordova, Alaska. That was his last position there, was a city manager. In the last 9 years, he's had direct management experience managing different jurisdictions in the capacity of city manager. So he's on his way here now, and we're going to talk about some items that are going to affect all of us here, not only the employees, but the citizens at large. So, and Lindsay, she comments, toys through December 14th. Is there any particular donations we're looking for? So we're looking for toys. It's definitely toys. We're looking for new toys, not gently used. We showed, in fact, Officer Nadi, could you pan over to the bikes for those that are just kind of joining us? If you look over, there's the bikes. These are the type of donations that are being made by our citizens that are trying to provide a really warm and welcoming Christmas to those that are in need. And that's where these items go to. They're benefiting people that don't have the same experiences that many of us have during this Christmas season. So I've done the lead-in. I'd like to introduce Mr. Randy Robertson.
How are you,
Sir,
Will?
thanks for stopping out.
Thanks.
I've kind of given a little background, a little bit of historical information about you.
Historical is a good word, I guess.
30 years of dedicated military service, sir. I'd like to first and foremost thank you for that service.
Thank you, Will.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
believe in that you served as, your final rank was Lieutenant Colonel?
Well, I got out and went in back as a civilian, so depends on who you ask, but it's somewhere between a brigadier and a colonel. So I'll leave that up to you.
Either way,
It's classified, so I can't tell you either. So.
well, thank you very much. Could you now? I've explained to our viewers that you came to us from Cordova, Alaska.
Mhm.
That you've had 9 years experience in city management as a city manager. Could you tell us? And also, you're a new resident here as well, if I'm correct. Could you just give us a little background of who you are and kind of let people that maybe they don't know who Mr. Randy Robertson is?
Well, probably we should ask my neighbor who's sitting behind the camera tonight because we are next door neighbors. So I'll let him fill you in. But again, I'm Randy Robertson. I'm your new city manager. About 4.5 months on the job. Yes, I spent the majority of my adult life as an Army officer and then a civilian. Last duty assignment was in 2006. I retired from White Sands Missile Range. I was Chief of Staff out there. I tell you that only in the context of my entire career has been leading, managing lots of people, lots of money, lots of resources, and it's been a privilege and honor to lead America's sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers in doing that. 2006, I left and became a first city manager. My first position was in Kentucky. Since then, I've been in 4 other cities. Last one was Cordova, Alaska, which was, I was up there about 3 years. Cordova is a wonderful place. Could have stayed there, I think, the rest of my career. But we have 2 sons, and 1 daughter-in-law, and 1 2-year-old grandson down in Washington, D.C. So the lure of getting back to this area was very powerful. My wife was also a retired Army officer, Army Nurse Corps. She spent 28 years between active duty and civilian too. And so because of that, we spent a fair amount of time separated from each other. So we thought it was important, maybe, although we think we did a good job with our children, but we spent a lot of time away by the nature of our career. So we thought it was important to try to get with them now, because both of our sons are in Washington, D.C. working for the federal government. That's the background. As it relates to Aberdeen, I mentioned White Sands because those of you who might be listening now or later know that White Sands is basically kind of a tenet, or at least at that time it was. My higher headquarters was here at Aberdeen, so I spent a fair amount of time flying back and forth, spent a fair amount of time at Aberdeen. My commanding general was there, and I got comfortable with the base. I really got to like the area, and I was very appreciative when I saw this opportunity come up in Alaska, from Alaska, to put my name in the hopper and see if it would turn out okay, because I thought this was a really, really good place to be. And I also, when I came up for the interviews, I went out and visited the folks on base. The very first stop, I met with the garrison commander. We talked about our common past and all that, and I got to spend some time in the city and saw just what tremendous opportunities exist here. The rail station, I-95, the base, the 3rd largest employer in the in the state of Maryland, the Ironbirds, Ripken Stadium, and most importantly, the team that I got to know in the first few days I was here. So, is that enough of a background, Will? I mean, it may be more than what you want, but I hope most people will find that I'm at least somewhat qualified for this position.
Absolutely. And you brought up the train station, and we've just recently we put a press release out. You can visit our Facebook page, Aberdeen Police Department, and see some of the work that's been going on behind the scenes. And we were talking about the perception and reality of crime and things like that at the train station, and some of the updates and just some of the difficulties and the positive things that go on with, obviously, with having the train station. And in a conversation that we had, there's some exciting new things on the horizon.
Very much so.
And I know you, behind the scenes, and I think there's no better person to come here and speak about this. Could you kind of let people know, for those that have seen the Amtrak station in the state that it's in right now, kind of where some possibilities are?
I think possibilities is a very good word, because I think maybe we can use another P word now and move beyond possibilities to probabilities. We were fortunate enough, maybe it's like kind of a culmination, they call it the perfect storm, between the notion that things hadn't been done out at the train station, and getting the Army and the state together, because the road behind the train station actually still belongs, although it's ironic, but it still belongs to the United States Army. So between that and maybe being a facilitator, if you haven't been out there in the last week, about a week and a half ago, it was all repaved, the back area. And that allowed us also to follow up on a meeting, in a meeting that we had with about 40 officials from the state, from the Army, from the Corps of Engineers, from Maryland Department of Transportation, the city. Senator Casserly was there, Council President Slutsky, and Councilman Vincenti from the county. 40 leaders, singularly focused. That doesn't happen very long in government, on one issue, and that was, what are we going to do with the train station? So the road's been improved. which led to the conversation the other day that actually Chief Trabert was a part of, is what are we going to do with the facade, what's going to happen there, and how are we going to look at safety and security. And we were given some pretty firm commitments by the state. Dr. Glass, who is one of the undersecretaries or deputy secretaries for the State Department of Transportation, and his team made some very strong commitments about short-term improvements, new lighting in the tunnel, some painting in the tunnel, some immediate work to take off the graffiti, some added security measures on the overpass. Then long-term is actually doing some work on the facade itself, the structure, putting new siding up, putting new boards. And in that I will commend Chief Trabert. He took the ball, and while we were there, challenged the state and the state leadership to look at what they could do from a securities perspective inside on a more static basis. And as I understand, he is championing a crusade to look at the possibility or probability of putting a static station there with an officer, possibly contracted, possibly not, don't know that yet, from the city but paid through by the state to provide more security there, to give an on-site presence, security presence there. I do think from what I've seen, you know much better than I do, there's a perception there of maybe, I haven't seen the reality that it's an unsafe area. I think you guys are doing an extraordinary job, and the state team, in providing some secure measures. But as it relates to the perception, it still doesn't look good, and when it doesn't look good, people walk away with the notion of maybe it's not as safe as it could be. So those overt measures, and then some things as it does to actually, from a manpower perspective, I think is a very good way forward, Will, and with the things that are going over there right now.
And I think that it's important in how you've illustrated that this is a multi-layered effort. This wasn't simply the task of the city of Aberdeen that could wave a wand. This is much larger, and I think the fact that what we're doing behind the scenes, and I mean the city as a whole, is spearheading and really championing the improvements and things like that, and a call to order to bring people together and find those solutions. From a police department side, I can tell you that all the shifts are dedicating manpower, especially during the high volume periods where our commuters are coming and going. We have a Hartford County bus line that has a stop there as well. So it's a very transient area. It's a crossroads in our community that finds people going from one area of town to the other. So it creates a lot of foot traffic, and from that byproduct, it takes police officers to be there and to be visible, to give that reassurance that things are in good working order. So let's move on. And something that happened very early on into your administration, it was the Victory Park fire. An unbelievable rallying cry from the citizens that stand behind the city, and one, finding the person or persons that were responsible for it. Could you talk about just when that happened, what's happened since then, and kind of the current state of affairs with Victory Park? Is there anything you could kind of
I'd be happy to. Victory Park's in a part of town that, in terms of the demographics, the socioeconomic factors that exist there, it's probably the area that you want most to focus some time and energy on extracurricular activities, if you will. That's a challenged part of town, right outside the back gate, which has been sealed, so it's kind of isolated, has its own share of problems. And then to exacerbate that with the fact that some young men with nothing better to do, probably, I don't know exact motives to it, burned it down, and it was a total destruction. Fortunately, the insurance paid for a large percentage of it, the majority of it. But in a short period of time, unsolicited, and through some of your help and through this medium and through the newspapers and just word of mouth, I think close to $5,500 was raised with just a few notices in the paper, ranging from $1,000 to $50. Independent of that, since that time, Ms. Grover and the planning and zoning director has made contact with one larger business. Hasn't been worked out yet, but there's a good prospect that they will donate quite a bit more, enough to provide a water source there, a water fountain, which is one of the things that's lacking over there. So actually there's some goodness to it. Right now we're looking at December the 9th to have a rededication, if you will, of the park. It should be about done this week or early next week, completely restored, brand new equipment, the rubber mulching all put back out there, new signage as it relates to thanking those who contributed to the effort. I think the chief is working with some of the school children to get them out during the day and maybe come to that reopening. So in a quiet manner, but still overtly enough that we want to thank everyone. I think this may be one of the bigger things in my short tenure that kind of stands to the testament of the resiliency of this community. In one of the most challenged areas that we have, within a short period of time, not only will we have as good a park, we'll have a better park there. We'll have improved facilities. And a lot of that's through people just simply stepping up and saying, we can do better. So that's, December the 9th, be watching through your forum, through the newspapers, the city has now this weekly e-newsletter that goes out every Monday morning.
Could you take a second, and it's something we've supported on our Facebook page, kind of getting the word out?
Sure.
Could you give a little background to the e-newsletter that this is coming out from the folks over on our city side, and it's a collection of articles, information, I think that is very relevant and very informative, very real, very accessible. Could you kind of just give
Absolutely.
kind of the genesis behind it?
Well, it's a compliment to what you're doing here, but we live in the 21st century. People communicate electronically. We still are going to be looking at doing hard copy newsletters, but that's on a quarterly or a semi-annual basis. Every Monday, you can have pushed at no cost to you just by signing up on the city's webpage. It comes out Monday morning, afternoon, a 1 to 2 page colorful newsletter, and it just simply updates the community on more social events and timely activities. For example, we talked this week a lot about the Christmas parade, first one. We speak about the redo of the city's webpage, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the city's webpage, we're planning on unveiling a brand new one, hopefully a lot easier. I've been told that you're no more than 3 clicks away from any kind of information that you need to get to relevant to the city that we have online.
And that will be services, things like trash information, anything
Absolutely.
that...
Taxes, trash, police, and then a direct link to the police department.
Excellent.
So all of that unveiled this week, but that newsletter speaks to that, and we think it's just part of maybe the consortium. And when I say we, I think the city leaders, the mayor, the city council, see it as part of the triad of services in terms of the print publication, the email publications, and also the verbal communications that the city as a whole has to do with its public, its constituency. So it's a new tool, costs you nothing. Go to the city webpage, www.City of Aberdeen, and it's up there listed as a direct link how to sign up for this newsletter, and you should see it every Monday.
And we have a direct link. If you check either our webpage or our Facebook site, we have a direct link to that as well. So again, I've read an article this past Monday. It's full of information that, again, you've highlighted social events, things that are going on that is useful, informative, and will get you closer to the service and things that are going on in and around town. At this time, I don't want to steal any thunder, but is there any projects, anything going on right now that behind the scenes that maybe the citizens would be excited to know that are going on that it's in the makings?
Well, the council heard this morning from a second vendor, a second of 3. There's one more, I think, the first week of December that we're going to be talking to. These are national groups that we have contacted who have a presence throughout the United States in helping us market our city. And I'm not talking about branding and name changes. I'm actually talking about firms that provide very detailed analytics on what, from a retail perspective, what the city needs and what it can support. And in addition, telling us what, in some cases, we may know already. We know we're short name class restaurants, upper scale. We know you can't really buy clothes here in the city in terms of a men's suit or women's. You've got to go somewhere else. So we're missing that market. And there are some firms that will actually help us. Now, they cost money. But for every dollar you invest in growing your city, it comes back to you in terms of the opportunities as it relates to generating new sales tax dollars, which help defer costs in the future, which actually comes back to pay for every, in terms of improving city services across the board or stabilizing the tax flow. These things take a couple years, but maybe doing this in other cities, I know we don't have the in-house skill sets, we don't have the resources, the manpower, and primarily we don't have the connections. We don't know people at the international and national level, at Target, at Walmart, at Sam's Club, at Costco's, at Outback, who make choices about those few places they get restaurants or, and these companies do, and we're looking at them, and I think the council's excited about that. And I think this is a forum too, because with that kind of growth provides further opportunity, because you've been in virtually every meeting I have as it relates to your chief, continuing to advocate that with economic growth, with prosperity, with opportunities, there's a correlation as it relates to criminal activity and all of that, and with drug use and all of that. So we want to grow our city, we want to grow it wisely. But this is a long-standing project. The other one I'd be a little briefer on, but I would say first or second week in December, the city will inherit the old Aberdeen High School. It will become part of the portfolio of the city versus the county.
And just for folks out there, that's the old high school that's located right on Route 40.
Route 40, North Philadelphia, right across from the City Hall and Festival Park. It's, as I understand, it's been a county asset for years. A couple years ago, there was some water damage with it. It's been deserted since then. There's some challenges. It will cost a lot of money to have it redeveloped. We're looking for partners who have the wherewithal and the vision to take that on. But if you think about the opportunities out there, the proximity to 40, the proximity to 22 when 22 is redone, it takes you to 95, the rail station, which is within walking distance, the park right behind you, what a great opportunity for some mixed-use development, for some upper-scale housing. And I think that's the energy that we want to get these companies involved with, to be looking at a rejuvenated downtown, a downtown that maybe has more retail, some opportunities there that I constantly hear about our colleagues to the west and to the north, to Havre de Grace, to Bel Air. We can't be Bel Air. We don't have county services there. We don't have a college. We're not going to be Havre de Grace. We're not sitting on the water. There's not much I can do about that, or you or anyone else. But we need to accentuate our positives, because they don't have rail stations and they don't have 95 sitting at
Lots of
and they don't have Ripken Stadium, and they don't have lots of hotel rooms. So we need to accentuate our positive rather than continuously talk about what we don't have, and start focusing a little bit more on what we do and getting professionals to help us flesh that out a little bit more. So those are a couple things I think in the immediate future.
But it sounds to me like there's a lot of exciting forward thinking going on that's going to do nothing but promote prosperity for Aberdeen.
I hope so.
And obviously that's something exciting. As somebody that spends a lot of time, over a quarter of my day here, I can definitely get excited about that. In closing, I just want to ask you, you've walked in, you've been on the job now 6 months?
Well, it seems like 6
4
months. I got here the first week in July, so it'll be 5 months next week.
So,
but who's counting?
In a nutshell,
right?
Just your first, I guess your first take on everything, kind of where you think the current state of affairs are, and if you could Close us out here this evening.
Can do. You know, because I think we sat in this room. The chiefs invited me every week to, every month to your quarterly stats, your command review. And there was one thing I think I said in my second month here. When I look at the array of services and tasks and responsibilities that are on my plate, from economic development that we just talked about, from new high school, from the Moose Lodge and what are we going to do about it, from roads and 22 and 40, and all the things that happen financially in a city and the personnel side, I told the group, and I think you were in the room, I'm not losing sleep over as it relates to our police department. I think we're in world-class hands. I truly do. And I haven't said that in the other cities I've been at, particularly after such a short period. Now, we have a top-notch team of professionals led by professionals. Can we move good to great? Absolutely. And we need to constantly push that. So from a police perspective, I think, and I believe that's the focus of what I should be talking about on this side. Yes, economic development plays into it. Yes, finances play into it. But also the fact, you know, in the last probably, 48 hours, we've had 2 deaths from heroin, 2 overdoses. We've got a sign out front, went up yesterday, that talked about the number of deaths from heroin overdoses that have happened in Harford County. 248 overdoses, and I think it was 48 or 49 deaths. Yeah. One's too many. But we're not unique. Absolutely, we're not alone in that. We need to focus on that from a police perspective. I really want to focus more on getting more boots on the ground and how we do that within the limited resources we have. From a city perspective, I want one that's safe, secure, and I want to look at opportunities here as it relates to people can live, work, shop, and play in their community. They don't have to go somewhere else. Those are long-term initiatives, and with a world-class team that we have, I think we can take it on. So my first impressions, I'm very pleased by the possibilities and the opportunities that exist in the city of Aberdeen.
I've got a question that just came in from Stephen Dennis.
Hi, Steve.
Steve is asking, what is going to be done about the added traffic exchange from the new apartments that are being built around the 84 lumber? That would be back behind Beards Hill.
Part of the conditions, as I understand, were that they had to do some traffic analysis prior to getting planning and zoning's approval. So there are some improvements as the intersections that will be happening there. As I also understand, some of those conditions came in a little bit later than we would have liked to, because the city at that time did not have the covenants, the codes, the requirements as it relates to if you build X number of units, then this is what you have to do from a traffic analysis perspective. So there are some improvements. I'm not convinced that they're sufficiently robust enough to handle, and I believe it's close to 200 units that are going in at Summerlin. But independent of that, the city is also working to get that stub out, the Middleton Road extension. So I would say, Steve and others who are interested in that, I kind of see it as a 2-phase project. The first we'll have to take on, and the developer will really have to pay for a lot of those improvements. But it should be done in a partnership as it relates to what else is going to happen on Middleton Road. Neither one of them will happen simultaneously. Middleton Road has, but Middleton Road I think is more, the possibilities that exist there are greater, because those who are looking at developing that certainly have the resources to add some money to working out the rest of that other improvements. So I won't tell you that Calvary's over the hill, but I will tell you that it's certainly recognized, and there are some plans, and it will be a work in progress. But I don't think it's anything we won't be able to accommodate in time.
Excellent. Well, I thank you so much for taking time,
Absolutely.
and I know you had a very busy day today. and you always have a busy schedule for joining our viewership. I think it speaks volumes to the type of leadership that we have here in the city of Aberdeen. It's an all hands on deck attitude at all times, and it's that kind of commitment to excellence that makes us a great city. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, the Community Quarter, it's where we get together and we have a conversation. I appreciate your viewership, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a happy and safe holiday, and Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you.